The night was cold and quiet. The wind outside howled like a wounded animal. Snow covered the ground of the mining colony on Planet 47 Delta. Inside a small metal house, a man sat alone by a fire. His name was Duran. He was an ex-soldier. A man. With scars on his face and more inside his heart. He didn't like visitors. He didn't like people. He just wanted peace. He held a metal cup filled with warm tea. He stared at the fire. Lost in his own thoughts, then suddenly there was a knock at the door. A single, soft knock, then another and another. Darren stood up slowly. He walked to the door, grabbed his old plasma pistol from the wall. He didn't open it right away. Instead, he looked through the small camera. He saw a woman, standing in the snow. Her clothes were torn, her face pale. Behind her were 3 small figures, children. He opened the door just a little, enough to speak. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice cold. The woman looked at him with tired eyes. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Take me for one night. Just feed my children." Darren didn't say anything at first. He looked at the children. They were quiet, not crying, just staring at him with large, strange eyes. One of them had blue skin, another had small lines on her face that glowed in. The third, looked almost human. Darren's soldier instincts screamed at him. This was not normal. Still, he opened the door. "Come in," he said, stepping aside. The woman gave a quiet thank you and led her children inside. They sat near the fire. Trying to warm their small hands, Darren gave them food, dry bread, soup, and water. The children ate silently, without looking up. The woman sat down slowly, her body shaking. She didn't remove her coat. She didn't look around. Darren watched her carefully. "You're not from around here," he said. She nodded. "We've been running, from many places." Duran looked at the children again. He noticed something strange. They didn't blink often. They didn't talk. They didn't even smile, just quiet, watching everything. "Who are you running from?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. She looked into the fire, then said, "Someone who thinks he owns us." Duran didn't ask more. He knew the type. He had met monsters in the war. Something about this felt different. It felt deeper. Older, like a shadow from the past. Later that night, as Darren cleaned the dishes, one of the children stood behind him silently. Darren turned and almost dropped the plate. The child looked up and said, "You smell like war." Darren froze. "What? Do you know about war?" he asked. The child tilted his head. Pain, noise, fire, death. Then he walked away. Leaving Duran in silence, the woman had moved to the corner, her back against the wall. She was not sleeping. Her eyes were open, watching the door. Duran checked the security system. No signs of movement outside. Still, he felt uneasy. Something was coming. Could feel it. He looked at the woman again. Her face looked familiar now. Had he seen her before? In a mission file? A war report? His memory pulled images from the past lab's hybrid soldiers. Betrayal, he shook his head, trying to push it away. Before going to bed, he whispered to her, "If you brought danger to my door, I'll throw you." All out, she nodded slowly. "If danger comes, it's not because of us. It's because of him." Darren didn't sleep well that night. Kept his pistol under the pillow. The children slept on the floor like soldiers, silent. Still, outside, the wind grew louder, the cold deeper, and far in the distance, something moved in the dark. Morning came slowly on Planet 47 Delta. The sky turned deep orange, with thick clouds rolling over the mountains. Snow was still falling, light but endless. Duran stood outside his small cabin, staring into the distance. He didn't sleep much last night. Something felt wrong, something unseen, but close. Inside, the woman and her children were still asleep. Or at least pretending to be. Duran walked back in, closed the door, and locked it tight. He placed 2 extra energy cells into his plasma gun. His eyes moved to the fireplace, where the woman now sat silently. She looked stronger this morning, less afraid. But her eyes held something dangerous, not evil, just heavy. Like someone carrying a truth too dark to speak. Duran poured 2 cups of warm water. He handed her one. You going to tell me what this is really about? He asked. The woman looked at her children, then back at him. I already did, she said quietly. We are running. Running from what? She didn't answer. Duran leaned forward. I know soldiers, smugglers, refugees. Monsters, I've seen them all. You're none of those. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing, just then. A sound came from the corner, one of the children. The smallest girl was humming softly. She touched the metal wall with one finger. The wall began to glow with lines of blue light. Darren jumped to his feet, aiming his gun. Stop that! What is she doing? The woman stood quickly. She's just a child? Darren lowered the gun slowly, but didn't look away. That's not normal tech. He said. She's not normal, the woman whispered. None of them are. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. They're not fully human. Darren stared. At her waiting, she took a breath, then said the words he didn't expect. They were made. Darren's face turned cold. Clones. He asked. No, she replied. Hybrids, part human, part something else. He sat down slowly, his hand still on the gun. You're telling me you brought lab-born alien kids into my house? They're not dangerous, she said. Darren looked at the wall again. It still glowed. That's not very comforting, he muttered. Finally, the woman sighed. She took off her coat, revealing thin scars across her arms. Burn marks, surgical cuts, symbols branded in alien language. I was part of the project, she said, long ago, during the war. Humans made a deal with outsiders. To win, we had to cheat nature. They used soldiers' men like you as base. Material? Darren's heart stopped for a moment. What do you mean, men like me? She looked him straight in the eyes. Your DNA is in them. Silence filled the room like smoke. Darren stood up, heart racing. You're lying. He whispered. I wish I was, she said. But you were one of the donors, taken while in cryo-healing during the war. He turned his back, trying to think. Trying to breathe. All this time, he had no idea. All this time, the ghosts of war had followed him, even here. One of the children walked toward him slowly, the boy who had spoken last night. He handed Duran a broken piece of a dog tag. Duran took it, confused. His eyes widened. Was his. His name still scratched on the back. The boy looked up at him and said, We didn't ask to be born. Just then, an alarm sounded, the sensors. Outside picked up movement, fast, large, and close. Darren ran to the screen. A red dot blinked at the edge of the map. He turned to the woman. Who is it? Her face turned pale. She whispered just one word. Him. Darren grabbed his rifle. Checked the door locks? Is it another lab project? She shook her head. It's the one who hunts us, the one I escaped from. He's not a man anymore. The children gathered near their mother, silent and afraid. Duran walked to the window and looked out at the endless snow, a shadow. Moved behind the trees, fast, too fast for a man. Duran stepped back and said, If he's coming here, then he's not leaving outside. The wind grew sharp. Inside, the children's eyes glowed softly. The woman stood up and whispered to Darren, He won't stop, not until we're dead or taken. Darren clenched his jaw, then said in a cold, steady voice, Then we make our stand here. Snow was falling harder now, thicker, heavier. Like the planet was trying to hide something, the trees near Darren's cabin stood still. No birds, no wind, no sound. Inside. Everything was quiet too. Darren checked every weapon he had. Plasma rifle, knife, motion sensors. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. He had fought many battles, but never one like this. The woman sat with her children, whispering to them in a language Duran didn't know. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien either. It was something in between. The boy, the one who gave Duran his old dog tag, stood up and walked to the corner. He knelt down, touched the floor. A soft light pulsed from his fingers. The metal under the floor began to shift. A small panel opened. Inside was an old device, one of Duran's forgotten war tools, an AI. Chip. Duran was shocked. That was buried, he said. The boy looked up. It called to me. The AI chip sparked, activated. A cold robotic voice filled the room. Recon Unit ALPHA-13. Status. Reconnected, then a pause. Target reacquired. Darren. Stepped back. What target? The AI spoke again. Biological match detected. Codename. Revenant. The woman gasped. Her hands began to shake. No, it can't be him. Darren turned to her. Who is Revenant? She looked at him with haunted eyes. He was the first one. The first hybrid that survived all the experiments. He wasn't supposed to live, but he did. And he changed into what? Darren asked. Into a hunter who doesn't stop, who doesn't sleep, he doesn't speak. Doesn't think like us, she said. Revenant was made for only one purpose: tracking and reclaiming the failed ones. You mean the kids? She nodded yes. And me? Darren grabbed the AI chip and slammed it into the wall panel. The base defenses came online. Turrets, shields, and autolocks began activating. Lights blinked all over the room. You brought death to my doorstep. He muttered. You let us in, the woman replied quietly. For one night, he said. One cursed night. Suddenly, the lights blinked once, then again, then turned red. The AI spoke. Perimeter breach detected. Sector 3. Duran looked at the map. Single red dot moved fast, too fast for any normal creature. Then it vanished. He froze. Where is he? He whispered. The AI answered. Visual contact lost. Duran moved to the window, but saw nothing. Snow, trees, silence, then a whisper. Not in sound, but in the air itself. A feeling, a presence. The front door clicked, unlocked itself. Duran pointed his rifle, heart pounding. Stay back. He shouted to the woman and kids. The door creaked open by an inch. No one was there, but the air felt colder. The fire dimmed as if afraid. Darren fired a warning shot into the snow. Silence answered. Then a low, growling breath came from behind the house. Darren ran to the back wall. Too late. It was already inside. He turned and saw a shadow step forward from the darkness. Tall, lean, wrapped in black armor. Not machine, not flesh, something in between. No eyes, no mouth, no voice, just a moving. Death. Revenant. The hunter. The nightmare. The children screamed. The woman stood in front of them, arms wide. Revenant didn't move, didn't speak. It just pointed at the children. And then at Darren. Darren aimed his gun and said, You want a fight? You've got one. Then the lights exploded. The cabin went dark. Red emergency lights turned on, painting everything in blood color. Revenant moved like a ghost. Duran fired once, twice, 3 times, missed every shot. The woman ran with the children into the back room. Darren followed, throwing a grenade behind him. Boom, the cabin shook. Smoke filled the hall. But Darren knew it wasn't enough. Revenant was still alive, still hunting. The woman opened a trap door under the floor, a hidden tunnel. Darren looked. At her, you knew this would happen. She nodded. He always finds us, as they climbed down. The AI voice came again, warning. Internal breach confirmed. Defense mode. Manual. Duran took one last look at his cabin. His home, now a battlefield. Then he dropped into the darkness below. The tunnel closed above them, and the silence returned. But the hunter was not far behind. Asterisk, the tunnel was narrow and cold. Darren moved. Fast. Holding the youngest child in one arm. The other children followed their mother, silent but afraid. The lights inside the tunnel flickered. Old tech, half broken like everything else left from the war. The woman stopped at a metal hatch and opened it. They entered a large underground room, an old emergency shelter. Darren looked around quickly. Safe? He asked. The woman shook her head. Not from him. Darren sealed the hatch. Then opened a storage box. Inside, guns, armor, maps, explosives, his old survival gear. Forgotten for years, he turned to the woman. You built this? She shook her head. You did. During the war you just forgot. He stared at her. You've been here before, yes? She said. We've always been nearby. Darren didn't ask more. Not yet. He focused on the map. The Revenant was still out there, hunting, silent, patient, above them. The sensors triggered again. The AI voice echoed through the shelter, movement detected 6 meters above ground. Contact remains active. Duran placed a plasma bomb near the entrance. If he breaks in, he'll lose half his body. The woman looked at him and said softly, "He already has many times." The children huddled in the corner. The oldest girl whispered something into her hand. A small light floated up and formed a tiny shield around her siblings. Duran saw it and said, "That's alien tech." She nodded. "We were made to survive, not to fight." Darren knelt beside them. He looked into their strange, glowing eyes. "You're not just experiments," he said. "You're alive in your mind, aren't you?" The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, all three share your DNA." "But you never gave me a choice," Duran said. "I didn't have one either," she whispered. "They used both of us." Silence, heavy, real, painful. Then the hatch above shook. Boom, once, then again, louder. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. "Prepare for breach." The AI warned. Warning. External force level classified as lethal. Duran strapped on his armor, piece by piece. He hadn't worn it in years. It still fit. He loaded every weapon, activated every turret, then looked at the children. "Stay in the back, no matter what happens." The youngest boy stood up and said, "He doesn't want you. He wants her." He pointed to the woman. She left him, so now he's broken inside. The woman's face turned pale. "It's true," she said. "I was the only one who could calm him. But I escaped, and he never healed." The hatch door exploded. Flames flew across the room. Metal burned. Lights shattered. Turrets opened fire. Revenant dropped in like a shadow. No sound, no scream, just speed. He moved through the bullets like wind through trees. One turret sparked, then died, then another. Darren aimed and fired straight at Revenant's chest. A dart shot, the creature fell back, but got up again, chest smoking, armor cracked. But eyes locked on the children. Darren stepped in front of them. "Over my dead body," he growled. Revenant tilted his head. Then he spoke one word. "Accepted." He moved like lightning. Darren blocked, countered, pushed him back. Every strike felt like metal hitting metal. But Darren didn't give up. He had something now, something worth dying for, behind him. The kids activated their shields. The girl lifted her hands, energy forming between them. Strange hum filled the room. The boy held his sister's hand. And their power grew stronger. The woman grabbed an energy blade from the wall. She joined the fight, her strikes fast and trained. Duran looked at her, surprised. "You used to be a soldier." She nodded. "No. Wersai was a teacher." Revenant roared this time, not with sound, but with energy, pure psychic force. It cracked the walls. Bent metal. Duran fell back, blood from his nose. The kids screamed. The AI warned. System failure in 30 seconds. Duran crawled forward, grabbing a pulse grenade. He shouted to the woman. "Hit him now." When the light flashes, she nodded, charged forward, blade glowing. Duran threw the grenade. A blinding light filled the room. Boom. Revenant screamed for the first time. Sound like broken machines and crying souls. He collapsed, body shaking, armor split. The woman stood over him. Blade at his throat. Duran aimed the rifle, but the Revenant didn't move. The children walked forward slowly. The boy said, "He's not dead." The girl added, "But he's not fighting anymore." The woman lowered her blade. "He knows," she said. Duran asked, "Knows what?" "This family is no longer his to take." The Revenant's red eyes blinked once, then faded into black. Smoke curled through the broken shelter. Metal walls bent inward, half melted from the blast. The floor was cracked, and the lights flickered like dying stars. Duran stood still, rifle still raised. The Revenant lay on the ground, burned, bleeding. But breathing, not dead, not finished. The children were quiet, but their eyes glowed brighter than ever. The boy clenched his fists. The girl held her sister close. They were scared. But something else was waking inside them, something old, something powerful. The woman lowered her blade. Her breathing was rough. Her eyes were locked on the Revenant. "I should end him," she whispered. "But it won't change the past." Duran turned to her. "You knew him before all this, didn't you?" She nodded slowly. "He was the first hybrid to live. He was made from me, and from someone else. Darren didn't need to ask, he knew now. The Revenant was built from him too. The truth hit like a punch. He stared at the broken thing on the ground, the twisted copy of himself. Not a clone, but a brother. The Revenant opened one eye. It was red, glowing, full of rage and regret. "You left me," it said, voice like broken glass. "You ran, and you took them." The woman stepped back. "I saved them," she replied. "You were losing your mind? They were mine too," the Revenant whispered. "I protected the project. I obeyed." Ron couldn't take it anymore. "You obeyed monsters," he shouted. "You hunted children." "I didn't know," Revenant said. "I was made to follow, not think." The youngest child stepped forward. Her hand reached out. Blue light formed at her palm. Soft, warm, healing, she touched the Revenant's chest. His body shivered. But he didn't fight. Duran grabbed her back. "Don't touch him," but the girl said. "He's broken, like us." The woman knelt beside her. "These children are different," she said. "They carry war in their blood, but peace in their hearts." Suddenly, alarms went off again. The AI spoke. "Warning. Multiple ships approaching Yite. 10 minutes. Darren looked at the map. 3 ships. Government models, Earth fleet, not alien, not friendly either. "They found us," he said. The woman stood. "They always do." Darren turned to the Revenant. "You brought them?" "No," it replied. "They were always watching." The woman stared at Darren. "They never planned to stop." "The hybrids were phase 1. Phase 2 is total control. Then we leave," Darren said. "Underground?" she asked. He shook his head. "No more hiding." The kids stood up, hands glowing now. Blue, green, and gold, their skin shimmered faintly. Not human, not alien. Something new. The girl looked at Darren. "You still don't believe, do you?" "Believe what?" he asked. "That we are yours?" she whispered. "We were made from your pain. But we don't have to repeat it." Outside, the ships came closer. Darren's old satellite cameras showed them landing, troops stepping out, weapons hot, not to talk, but to clean up, to erase. Inside the shelter, the air felt heavier. The boy stepped forward and said, "It's time." The children walked to the center of the room. They joined hands. Energy rose around them. The ground trembled. Darren pulled the woman close. "What are they doing?" She looked at him, tears in her eyes. "They're choosing." A flash. A pulse of light filled the room. Every screen shattered. Every sensor burned. Above ground, the ships shut down midair. Troopers dropped their guns, blind and confused. The light faded slowly, and the children collapsed. Not dead, but drained. Darren ran to them, held them in his arms. Their skin was cold, but they were alive. The Revenant stood, wounded but watching this. "This is what they feared," he said. "The power of unity." Darren turned to him. "You coming with us?" The Revenant shook his head. "I was made for war, but they weren't." The woman kissed the children's heads. "They'll be hunted forever," Darren said. "Not if I teach them how to fight." Outside, fire burned across the sky. Above ground, chaos and silence. Below, a family built from blood, science. And war found something new. A reason to live, a reason to protect. Not for revenge, not for orders, but for each other. Asterisk time moved slower, or maybe it had stopped. The room was quiet. Like the world had taken a breath and held it, Darren stood still, holding the youngest child in his arms. Her small fingers glowed faintly. Her heartbeat was steady. But her eyes were wide open and glowing gold. The woman stood nearby, whispering something in a language not taught in any human school, not alien either, something ancient. Deeper, a voice of both blood and stars. Then, everything truly froze. The flickering light stopped. The flames on the wall paused in midair. Even sound vanished, like reality itself had hit pause. Darren looked around, confused. He could still move. So could the girl in his arms. No one else. The child sat up slowly and looked at him, not like a child. Not this time. Her voice was soft, but too clear, too calm. "Do you know what you are?" she asked. "I'm a soldier," he said. She shook her head gently. You're more than that. You were chosen long before the war. Not by men, not by aliens. By something else. Darren frowned. I don't believe in fate, the child smiled. You don't have to. She touched his chest, and suddenly he saw the labs. Not just machines, but temples. Not just doctors, but beings cloaked in white light. He saw his DNA being copied, altered, studied not by humans, but by watchers, ancient ones. The war had been a cover. The experiment's a tool. He had never signed up to be a father, but someone chose him to be one. Darren stepped back, breath shaking. What is this? She replied, This is the truth they buried. The glow from her hand spread across the room. Now the others could move. The woman blinked, confused. The other two children stood up, calm, no longer afraid. Even the revenant stared in silence. What did you do? The woman asked the girl. I opened the memory, the child replied. His memory, our memory. The AI in the wall sparked back to life, but its voice was different now. Older, smoother, core protocol restored, it said. Truth program unlocked. A hologram appeared in the center of the shelter. It showed Darren, years ago, lying in a tank. Not recovering from war wounds, but being studied, watched, changed. He wasn't just a soldier, he was the original template, the first man designed to blend with alien DNA. The first seed of the hybrid generation, and he never knew. They didn't. Take your blood, the woman said slowly. They built their future from it. The revenant stepped forward. I was the first test, he said. And they threw me away when I couldn't feel love. But they kept trying until... These three, the children, stood close now, forming a triangle. A soft hum filled the room. Their powers sinking light. Sound, energy, time, they weren't weapons. They were the result of hope and pain. The girl looked at Darren again. You were meant to destroy, but your heart refused, outside. The Earth Fleet forces tried to restart their systems, but nothing worked inside. The AI continued. The hybrid program has reached completion.
Oh.
The children now carry the balance, not just of blood, but of choice. Darren sat down slowly. Everything he believed was gone. I had thought himself a broken man, a leftover piece of war. But now he was their origin, their protector, their father. The woman sat beside him, her voice calm now. You saved me once. When I was just a scientist trapped in a war, now you've saved them. Darren looked at her. You lied to me, she nodded. I had to. If I told you the truth too early, you would have walked away. He looked at the children. They're not soldiers. No, she said. There's something the universe has never seen before. Their peace. If we protect them, the revenant backed away toward the shadows. I was made to chase them, he said. Maybe now I can learn to protect them too. The children walked over and took his hand. No fear, just forgiveness. Above, the ships powered down. Pilots stood in confusion. Orders were silent. Command was lost. The system had rejected war below in the shelter. Duran stood tall again, not just as a fighter, but as a father. And for the first time in many years, he smiled. It started with a knock, a quiet sound in the dark. One woman, 3 children, and a single plea. Take me for one night. Just feed my children. Duran never imagined that one night would change the future, not just for them, but for the world. Above, the war below, and the man he used to be, now he stood in the snow outside his broken cabin. The roof was half gone, the walls cracked, smoke drifted into the sky, but inside him, something had rebuilt. Something stronger than metal or fire. The children stood beside him, no longer afraid, no longer hiding. They watched the skies. Ships hovered in silence still, powerless. The Earth fleet had lost control. The AI inside the shelter had spoken. Its final message: the future belongs to those who choose peace over power. Then it shut down forever, its mission complete. The woman walked toward Duran, her coat blowing in the cold wind. She didn't look tired anymore. She looked like a mother, like someone who had found what she lost. Daron turned to her. You think they'll come back? They might, she said, but they won't win. He looked at the children. They're too powerful now. She shook her head gently. No, they're just finally complete. The revenant stood alone near the edge of the woods, watching. The sunrise through the clouds. He didn't speak, didn't move. But there was peace in his silence. The hunter was gone. What remained was something else, maybe not human, but no longer lost, one by one. The children stepped forward, each touched Darren's hand. Their eyes were glowing but soft now. Not weapons, not tools, just life, the girl said. You don't need to protect us anymore. We'll protect you now, said the boy. The smallest child just smiled and whispered, Thank you for letting us in. Daron kneeled down. He looked at them, and for the first time, they saw them for what they truly were. Not experiments, not accidents, but hope. They were what came after war, what rose from the ashes of lies. They were the reason men like him survived it all. The woman placed her hand on his shoulder. You gave them one night. That's all it took to change everything. He stood slowly. His back straight, no longer the tired soldier. He was something new now, something rare. A father not by choice, but by heart. The ships above finally powered down and flew away. No more orders, no more threats, just silence. As the sun rose over Planet 47 Delta, the snow stopped falling. For the first time in years, there was light. The cabin could be rebuilt. The land could be made home again, and the sky once filled with war was now just a sky. The children ran into the trees laughing, chasing each other with glowing footsteps and voices like music. Daron watched them go. The woman smiled at him. You're not alone anymore, she said. No, Daron replied. And I never want to be again. One night was enough, enough to wake the past, enough to build a future, enough to prove that love, even in a war-torn world, can still knock on your door. And if you're brave enough to open it, it might just save you too.